And welcome everybody to our North American Virtual Miro User Group event, VMUG for short. This is our 14th user group event for Miro over the past just over a year. And tonight is the first time we're going to be kind of straying from our typical format of have a speaker in and get them to share all kinds of amazing stuff. Tonight we have well, actually seven. Because we have to count everybody as individuals. Even though Jed and Sophia are such a good team, we're going to count them as individuals tonight. So we have 7 amazing former speakers from our events who are going to be here to share some stories about what they've been up to, how they've been using Miro over the past couple of months or year. And then I think the most important bit is to have them answer any and all of your questions. So my name is John White, and I'm a management consultant from Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada. And Miro is the jam in my jelly donut. It's the Nutella in my latte, the tuna on my niçoise salad. I'm hungry. Okay, so my company, Improve, we are super Miro users, and Miro's kind of shifted the way that I look at doing my consulting work, because doing it collaboratively with clients has been such a huge advantage. And so created a new product in Miro using Miro called the Keys to Improve method. So teams can build some of that visual and virtual collaborative skill set, and also to help them put a continuous improvement function into their business where everyone is kind of contributing. It's super cool, and it's super effective to deliver it via Miro. And tonight with me, as always, my partner in crime is Annie McLeod. How's it going, Annie?
Good, John. Thanks. I'm Annie McLeod, and I'm a project management consultant in beautiful Kelowna, British Columbia, where we don't get 40 below weather, as Natalie and I were commiserating about. And I'm one of the founders of the Project Management Game Board, and I'm too am passionate about Miro. I tell people it's the sexiest software I've seen in 20 years. And we have built the Project Management Game Board our backbone for that is in Miro. So we've had lots of opportunities in the last 3 years to really explore the depth and breadth of it, and really enjoyed being user group leaders with John and meeting some of the fantastic people we've got on our panel tonight. So a couple of house rules before we get started. Please mute your mic as the speakers are just going to go through their introductions. As we've said, we've got an amazing group of people, and we want to make sure we can ask lots of questions to that group. So we're really focused our agenda on getting those, and John and I will facilitate the questions to our different panelists. And then last but not least, for our safety moment, you're probably working from home, and that would mean that the fire exits and safety equipment are wherever you left them when you got up this morning.
Yeah, Greg's guiding you that way right now. Thanks for that, Greg. So just before we kind of turn things over to our wild, wacky, and awesome speakers for tonight, I just wanted to first give a big shout out to Natalie Lorino of Miro. She's the Miro's community events coordinator, and we always like to give her a shout out because she's basically the reason that we're all here. She gives us the support, the drive, dedication, and inspiration to do a good job at these events. So I always like to say hi. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, wow, what an intro. Thank you. Hi, everyone, welcome. For those of you who can already tell, we're recording the event, so we will add them to our YouTube playlist, so you guys can check it out later. And yeah, welcome. I'm looking forward to this fun event.
Sweet. I can't believe it's almost through February 2021. I swear that one of COVID's side effects is time travel, because I got no idea where the last year has gone. And 2 months of this year are already behind us. It blows my mind. So I guess the only good thing about time travel is that maybe I could miss winter a little bit more next time. I don't like the cold. And why do I live here in Calgary where it's like 40 below sometimes? No, not good. Okay, Annie, do you want to take us through our agenda for the evening, please?
Yes, absolutely. So first thing we're going to cover off is our pro tips, and then we've got an icebreaker for folks to try out, and then we'll move into our speaker panel where they're going to introduce themselves and briefly do a show and tell of some of their favorite Miro boards recently, and then we're going to move into the Q&A. We have a retrospective at the very end, and then we should be done in about an hour.
Let's do it. That sounds nice. Want to go through some pro tips?
Sure. So you'll see in our section here that we've got kind of our key pieces that we always focus on, especially for beginners, is the very first thing is our world famous thing is undo. That's one thing about a collaborative environment is when you make mistakes, the fastest thing you want to learn to do is undo what you last did. So that's either Command or Control Z. Zoom, again, with an unlimited sized space, you want to be able to navigate that space. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. If you've got a mouse, and we highly recommend using a mouse when you're in Miro, and you've got your wheel to roll through. If you're on a touch screen, make sure you're pinching with 2 fingers. That will allow you going in and out. And then in the bottom right corner, you'll see the plus minuses to zoom in and zoom out, or you could also roll over the map of the board itself. We've got a couple more functions, uploading files. So if you go to your toolbar on the right-hand side, left-hand side, you'll see the upload piece that allows you to upload documents. We've got duplicate, so a lot faster than control or copy paste is just a Command or Control D. So select, which will be great for folks if they want to add some of their questions later on the board. So you want to select something, click on it, and then use your mouse to select that object, and then click again to actually edit it. And then last but not least, we've got pointer versus pan. So if you see on the toolbar, again, on the left-hand side, the very top is a blue arrow. When it's blue, you can select things. And if you click on it again, it will go black and a hand will come. So pan is the hand piece so that you can move around the board without editing things. So I think that covers off our key tips, John.
Yeah, and if anyone does have any Miro user questions, I mean, what more perfect place to ask them than this event? But you can also just, if you need some immediate help getting around, just use the Zoom chat, fire in a comment there that you need some help, and we'll find you on the Miro board and give you a hand. You got lots of experts to help out with that tonight. Okay, let's zoom out, use the pan tool to move, and zoom back in. Look at the good Miro navigation I'm doing. Here is our icebreaker for this evening. We thought we might torture everybody just a little bit so we can all think about where we'd like to travel if we could travel right now. Where would we want to go? And I got things kicked off by throwing my little umbrella down here to New Zealand, mostly because it's way warmer than here right now, and it's a beautiful place too. So go on, come to this spot on the board. I'll pull everybody on the board to me. Sorry for those of you who are right here. I hope this doesn't mess you up too bad, but boom, I've brought everybody to me. This is another great little function of Miro when you're facilitating, because you can make everybody see what you're seeing, which is just perfect. So grab one of the umbrellas on the side, fire it to where you want to go, and we'll be able to think about how we're not there right now. Oh, and drag a big picture of Rob. Yeah, there you go.
And the other thing for folks to understand too is this is just one of the things that we pulled out of the Miroverse. So you'll see on the bottom left there that we have Jose, and I won't torture his last name, that had built this and put it in the Miroverse. So that's a great resource for folks looking for icebreakers or all kinds of different things.
Yeah, great place for tools. Okay. I think we should talk to some experts. You think? I think that would be great. So I'm going to just zoom out on my Zoom screen so everyone can see kind of what I'm looking at. We have this wonderfully big area with some extra shapes here. This wonderfully big area where we had set up the profiles for each of our key speakers. And what we'd like to do right now is give each of them 2 minutes to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about the board they'd like to just kind of show off a little bit and showcase. Yeah, that's about it. So each of you will have 2 minutes for that. We're going to use the Miro timing function just to keep everybody on track. And we'll go in the order that we have here on the screen, which is left to right. So we start with the ever amazing Greg Kozara, Hi, Greg. How's it going, man? I'm
Hello,
going to start your
thank
clock
you.
now.
Start it. My name is Greg Kozara. I'm the Director of Creative Learning for a company called Elm Learning. I love Miro board mainly because, especially in the remote collaboration world, a lot of the other tools, we had Google Docs, we have Excel spreadsheets. For me as a visual communicator, someone that likes to sketch out, someone that likes to bring everything together for all of us, Miro brought my skills to the digital communication world. I specialize in storytelling, especially instructional storytelling, gamification. I have a couple of boards here, but really, especially in the time of COVID, what I saw is bringing it back to the basics, right? Where we are communicating with teams from around the world through our computers. And a lot of times we're just talking via Zoom, but Zoom and Miro board are like milk and cookies, right? I'm a big fan of what we're doing right now of just sharing my screen and visually communicating everything we're talking about. So this first board we're seeing, it's hard to zoom in, it's a lot. We did this for, I think someone was talking about consulting. It was a consulting practice for a hotel company. And we needed to process map every single role from the head of the desk to the people that clean everything to the bartenders. They wanted to bring a consistent onboarding training. So before we got into that, we needed to know from the best of the best, the creme de la creme, you know, what do they do day to day? So it's hard for everybody to see there, but you could see all the different swimming lanes, and we mind mapped every part of their day. We started to see, you know, what were some of the trouble areas that they were seeing, and what were some of the specific things that were like their company benefits there. If you go down to the next, same thing. Again, for me, especially in 2020 with COVID, the name of the game was remote collaboration and visual communication. And a lot of people, especially subject matter experts in this learning game, they have a lot to say, and sometimes it's hard to follow. So while they're communicating, I kind of help them navigate what they're saying to really show, okay, well, what is our process? What are we trying to do here? And yeah, on this last one was another amazing company actually that we work for, ECLT, and they help combat child labor. And they wanted to help create this framework for governments, for lobbyists, for, you know, people in like Central America, areas that have a lot of child labor infractions, let's call them, and really kind of help them to visualize, well, what is your process that we're looking to create? So just some samples there. If you've seen some of my other boards in previous years, they've been more elaborate, but like I said, like this year was about almost bringing it back to the basics, simplifying and learning to communicate. Where's the timer? Am I over time?
You're a little over, but it was so fascinating.
Always over time. Let me stop.
We know that about you. I know. We got to cut you off, right? We just... All right. Well, that's awesome. Thanks, Greg. That was a great introduction. Let's get Natalie to introduce herself next.
Hi, people. My name is Natalie. I'm a product manager at Ground Truth. It's a technology company, and I spent all my career in technology field. I started as a software engineer, and over time, I realized I want to help more engineers to deliver valuable experiences. And now I'm just doing product management. Why I'm using Miro? It helps me to communicate because I don't like a day filled with Zoom meetings. I feel that with the visual collaboration, we can reduce the Zoom meetings, but at the same time, improve the understanding across the organization and the teams. In my showcases, I'm just showing few examples what I did throughout 2020. And because I'm based in Washington, D.C., that was really troublesome year for us. Well, including, it started with COVID and then it continued and evolved, now including Texas. So the first example, this is what we've done in the Washington, D.C. chapter when we arranged community to talk about inclusion and diversity and having issues with policing and Black Lives Matter. So that was the first way I can able to assemble inclusive environment so people can safely share the experiences. And you can see those experiences attending BLM and seeing the purple one is the people of color and the experiences, how the experiences policing in their life. It was clear on qualitative side that we have discrepancies. The white stickies, positive experiences, but female one still has some more issues with policing. So that was my inclusive piece. And I continue doing the same for internal company, going through inclusive collaboration across the team. So it's more of a, the second word is more of a applicable for within the company, improving collaboration and having more inclusive conversation that includes emotional intelligence to understand complex problem and solve them together, usually.
Cool. Thank you very much. Okay, let's keep moving along. We have Kim White from Herman joining us.
Hi, Kim. I'm Herman's organizational psychologist and consultant. And I use Miro all day, every day. I was in it a few minutes ago. I'll be in it later. It is my personal thinking space. It just fits me like no other piece of software I have ever used. So, you know, I use it, I tend to use it as a blank space to collect thoughts. And then as I shape things, then I will share them out. This past year, I worked on a really big, last year I worked on a really big project that I did 100% in Miro. And I'm back at it again for this year for another big project. When the pandemic came along, Herman was asked for a lot of help around remote collaboration. As you know, it was kind of everybody's big issue. We were already 100% virtual company. And as a company that works in the assessment space, which is helping people understand their thinking styles, we were called on a lot to help with remote collaboration. And Miro was a really nice tool that allowed us to do that. So my two boards here are, the first board is something you could use as an icebreaker. And that is you ask everybody to just put a little dot next to 2 or 3 words that they are things they really connect with that they need in remote collaboration. And then the board below it kind of relates, and you can see the colors match up. And that's actually the parts of Miro that you can use that provides that kind of comfort for that thinking style. You know, so for me, I'm predominantly a yellow thinker. Mind mapping, those little visual icons are great for me, the drawing shapes. So the session I did last May was really about how to identify those thinking styles really quickly, and then how to make sure that we're using all the various parts of Miro to really help people with that remote collaboration.
Could you have ended more on time? That's awesome. Thank you. So we're only halfway through these introductions, folks. I will say to those of you in the crowd, if you're on the Miro board and as they're going through, our speakers are going through their history and their areas of specialization, we have these spaces below where you can use the available stickies to get your questions in ahead of time. And we'll kind of keep an eye on the Zoom chat as well. If you don't happen to be on the Miro board, we'll keep firing the address in there. And so if anyone's new joining and hasn't been on the board yet, you can come on in. And any of these stickies, either it's for a specific person or you can just ask a general question if you're not sure exactly who to drive it home to. Okay, so let's continue on with the introductions from the man that I happen to know is holding a beer in his right hand, Rob Johnson.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Robert Johnson, and I'm a business systems analyst with the Cooperators Insurance, probably one of the least sexiest industries of all the panels here this evening. But you know what, I do what I can to make it interesting anyways. And I was the guy, as far as I know, that found Miro about 3 years ago and started using it in the organization. And I'm also providing technical support for Miro for the organization. And I'm very active on the Miro community forum, answering a lot of questions there. And I use it for a lot of requirements gathering in the traditional sense of business analysis. and also ad hoc collaboration. So anytime we're having a discussion on our team, we're very active on Teams all day long, jumping in and out of calls. And previously, when we were all together in our space in the office, we had a huge, the whole wall was a whiteboard. So we were always just throwing our ideas up. So Miro's been essential for that process to continue on as we're all at home now. And recently here on this board, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the situation of working in computer systems and like, I have to go to this system to do this and this to do this and over here to do this. You know, you're jumping back and forth. And the truth is that on the IT side for the development team that I'm on, it's the same for us. For all those systems you have to go in and do work, we have to go in to the same number of systems and probably double them because there's configuration interfaces for all those systems. So this challenge here was one of the areas saying we just want to have a new report. And that involved 8 different systems for us to go in and look at information all over. So I try to visualize everything. So when I got my team together to finally give a story point size to these, that we had context. And down here, I won't go into it too much, but if anybody likes true crime, look up the Murder Squad podcast. And that's a crime investigator and a former law enforcement agent who was involved in bringing down the Golden State Killer. And I was trying to demonstrate to them, you know, how they could use this to replace, he was talking about his huge board on his, at home all over, and his significant others fed up with him having Post-its and everything all over the place. So you should check out Miro. So that's what this board is all about.
Solving crimes and saving the world. One system, software, and murderer at a time, eh, Rob?
A Miro board at a time.
Yeah, one Miro board at a time. Good job, Robert.
All right. And now we have the man that actually has no internet and is borrowing it right now. So he's on borrowed time, literally. It's Matthew Stevens.
Hey, first off, Robert, when I saw that you put that Golden State Killer thing in there, my dad is a retired homicide detective. And I was like describing what I was doing today and like how I never thought of using it for law enforcement, but he was like, man, that would have been fantastic because no one's in the station, you know, they're always like out and about. And I was like, yeah, you could do it from any device. Anyway, I thought that was really cool. My name is Matthew Stevens. I'm a designer. I was the co-founder of DeviantArt, which is the largest online art community. I was the former VP of design at an insurtech company here in Austin called The Zebra. And yeah, I'm a huge Miro fan. I've been a huge Miro fan for as long as it's been around, I feel like. I was using it when it was called the real-time board. And I use it for everything from like collaborating on design to team performance stuff. And yeah, let me go through my board, hold on. I also have contributed some stuff to the Miroverse, so some of that's down here. My first talk at one of these was around design sprints. And so I included kind of what I currently am using. This is actually the Just Mad Miroverse template that I just kind of took bits and pieces of and remixed. It's a much simpler version, very clean, but I use it with a lot of my clients. I do a lot of product design projects. And so I use this design sprint template a lot. Below that, I have these trading cards. I tried to actually include the actual Miro, but I didn't have this one available. But for any team, we created these as part of the new employee onboarding, where they came into Miro and they filled out, you know, their name and their title and team, and then some like personal information, like what their superpower is, what are their weaknesses, and personality types, and like where they like to work and all that kind of stuff. It's just like a fun way to kind of use Miro as like a welcome to the team. I also, the two below here are, these are a card brainstorming template. There's a really cool company, or really cool institute. It's called the Experience Institute. They have these like physical cards. I essentially I took and adapted their idea into a Miro board, but it's a really nice way to start brainstorming new ideas. And then below that is it's a futures wheel template. It's a really nice way to visualize the unintended consequences of a certain decision, event, or trend. It's really nice during product design when you're starting to think about, okay, well, what are the ramifications down the road? How can we avoid these unintended consequences? Yeah, that's
Beauty. Thanks, man. That's cool stuff. Matthew was our very first speaker for the virtual events, so that's awesome. Okay.
I went to a physical Miro event once.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think Annie and I were at the first ever physical Miro user group event. That was pretty cool. We flew to San Francisco and we timed it just right to be there. Okay, last and certainly the best is Jed and Sophia Lazar. Take it away, you two.
The best. Yes, we're here to show everyone up.
I'm obviously Sophia.
Yeah.
This is obviously Jed.
That's true. We haven't switched names. Yeah, so we are calling in from the tiny island of Cyprus in the Mediterranean.
Which is why I'm yawning every so often.
It is 2:30 in the morning, but it's not 40 below. Yay.
Small victory.
Right. So area of expertise for me, I'm still asking myself that question. But I think that when it comes down to it, what I love is startups, and what I love is putting positivity out in the world. And the project that we are working on together now and have been for the last 5 years is called Cozy Juicy Real. And the positivity that we're focusing on is trust, creating more trust. And we're doing that through conversation and authentic connection. We worked for 4 years on creating a physical board game that allowed people to deepen trust and deepen conversation over the course of about 60, 90 minutes. But then when COVID hit, what do you do with a physical board game? Nothing. And so thankfully, Sophia discovered Miro, and we were able to put the game online, and we've been playing online with teams around the world since May. So it's been an amazing journey. None of it would have happened without Miro. And I'll turn my rest of my time over and she can talk about the board.
I was going to say, so I think our board is probably the most unusual of all the boards on here, because we didn't come to Miro with the collaborative kind of intention in the beginning. Well, it was collaborative because it's a board game, but we came with the intention of how do we create a board game online, where it's real time, people can play, people can interact. And I'd say, I mean, along with everything that everyone said, is how much I love Miro, and I use it for so many different things now, not just the board game. But what I think is amazing is that it's so versatile. Like, you can bring in so many different formats and do so many different things with it, to the point that it meant we could create a board game online, and it's been amazing. We've been playing it, for at least 8 months now with Miro. And yeah, it's so impressive. There's so many features that we use that you cannot find on any other collaborative whiteboarding tool. And trust me, I have looked at all of them.
It's true.
And hands down, Miro definitely has the most comprehensive and user-friendly platform. So yeah. I'm
Awesome.
not sure if, I see that you gave us extra time because there's 2 of us. That was very kind of you.
Everybody got extra time. I just didn't want it to be dinging in the middle of your talk. So
we'll leave the rest for the questions and answers.
There you go. Okay, awesome. And thanks so much. And so if anyone was watching the my shared screen in Zoom, hopefully you could see that I was able to, as each presenter was presenting, I could follow their Miro screen. So it was very easy for me to make sure I'm focusing on what they're talking about just by clicking on their little icon at the top here, much in the way that I can use this menu to bring everybody to what I'm seeing. So it's just a cool little feature I like to keep reinforcing for folks, because it ups your facilitation game like nothing else when you're running activities or you want to make sure people are looking at what you're looking at. Okay. So I'm just pulling back now. I can see we have a couple of extra questions. Oh, and some models and everything too that Greg is throwing into his list. So what I would like to do first is if someone had put their question in one of the stickies while we were just talking here today, or if anyone's feeling brave and wants to come on camera and come on mic and ask either one of our panelists or just a general question, we'll give preferential treatment to you because you're here, you're in the event, let's get you your money's worth. And if no one wants to do that, we do have some questions that have come in early that we'll just kind of go to and start doing there. So I'll open it up to the floor for right now for anyone in our audience. Do you have a burning question for one of our speakers or just a general one you'd like to get answered? Maybe no live ones right now. Okay, no, what we'll do is we'll rely on the inspiration from the other questions being answered. Maybe that'll jog something in your mind. Annie, do you want to either pick a question at random, or I don't know if you want to start back with Greg, or how we want to kind of ask the questions that we got?
Well, why don't we start with one for each speaker? So let's start with one for Greg and then go to one for Natalie. And how about we do that?
Okay, and I'll just kind of run the 2-minute timer for the responses just to make sure we keep some compartmentalization and we don't all go off. Greg.
Yes, give me that. I didn't have a sound effect for when my time was up like everybody else did. So give me that bing because I'll talk forever.
There you go. I'll ding right at you. So Annie, give Greg his first question and I'll start our timer and let's see what we got.
So Greg, the very first one, when gamifying something, is it more important to create a game that teaches a lesson or achieves an outcome? Or that it appeals to different thinking styles so everyone can participate?
Great question. Great question. I posted a little thing that I just found real quick about the 4 realms of experience. So always it's about the outcome that we're looking to achieve and really understanding the outcome and also understanding our audience, right? Because creating a game for one audience might, infantilize the audience, and for one audience might inspire them. But really, when we're creating like an educational experience, we really want to be in this top 2 sections here, right? Where we're absorbing the information and we're also participating. And for me, when I think gamification, I think about emotional output, right? What kind of emotional output am I creating that's happening while I'm creating this facilitation or anything that I'm trying to do? The same way that a movie or a game is created, right? It balances this kind of immersive experience, and then you try it, and then maybe we get a little frustrated, maybe we get surprised, maybe we get joy, whatever it is. It's trying to understand how can we elicit an emotion through our facilitation versus just a lecture, right? So if I was going to create a gamified experience, especially with learning, I do what I call like an interactive case study, right? Where, I tell a story, I start with an event. An event might be I'm pitching to a client, I'm cleaning in a hotel room, whatever it is. And then what is that story that builds up to that event, right? And then I'll kick it back to, if I'm on a Zoom call, especially in this remote world, kick it back to all the listeners or the users to answer that question. And during that answering and figuring it out, that's when we kind of generate that knowledge or that information. But every single time when I think gamification, it's not about building, a game that's fun, but it's really about weaving in the learning through an experience that elicits an emotion.
Boom. Boom. This guy is a pro. Look at him. That's a great answer. That resonates with me and makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure if whoever asked that is here in the audience tonight, but I'm sure that did too. Okay.
So we move to this one from Natalie.
Let's go.
So Natalie, what are the key differences between qualitative and quantitative analysis for product development in your experience? Should one be used differently than the other?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yes. The purposes are different. It depends on the phase of a product. In the early stages, you don't have lots of data, quantitative data, so you need to rely on the interviews and qualitative aspects. As you grow, it's time to add quantitative side of things And when it's, we're talking about, as I have now, over 6 million a day users and having 12 a month users, I don't have luxury to understand deeply their motivation. So I need to rely on quantitative side first. And once I understand the trends and I cannot answer why I see the data, then I need to transition back to qualitative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me. The qualitative data is so much more difficult to go through. When numbers, you can just see some trends and patterns based on some math. But I always like to do the exact same approach as you, Natalie. Start to look for some trends and patterns in the numbers and that data, and then validate it with what I'm seeing in the qualitative stuff.
That's
very
right.
Interesting.
Multiple sources, and data is my favorite topic.
Me too. Okay, moving along for Kim.
Understanding how diverse we can all be from a thinking perspective is one thing, but can or should an organization be expecting people to change to meet a certain ideal persona?
Yeah, so the HBDI, which is what our assessment is, really has two overarching kind of focuses. One is your natural thinking preferences, so how you like to think and solve problems and communicate when you're feeling groovy, and then what happens to you under pressure. So we talk a lot about, in ordinary times, we talked a lot about stretching your thinking, which isn't really changing who you are. That's not what our assessment is about. It's more about understanding somebody else's preference and sort of being able to go there, and to be able to stretch your thinking to their style in order to better communicate and to collaborate with them. We're assuming that the past year, we have all been under pressure profile most of the time, definitely at work, but probably even outside work. So we started to shift the conversation a little bit toward recommending that people lean in. So lean into your natural thinking preferences as a way to practice self-care. So for example, I'm in the D quadrant, I'm very creative and expressive. So I make sure I carve out extra time in my day before or after work or at lunch to do something creative, to do something spontaneous, so that it re-energizes me. So it's not so much about anybody changing who they are, but just appreciating other people's differences, and trying to kind of meet them in the middle. And sometimes the best thing is for two people who have different preferences to meet in a different preference than what either of them have. And that way it's neutral ground for each of them.
It's
yeah,
so,
I really like
so
that.
smart. Yeah. Like I know I need to be more intentional about actually scheduling either downtime or creative time. I'm so bad at it, but it's something I need to get better at, because it's the only way to do it. And it's the only way I'll ever break my pattern, is to be intentional about it. Thanks, Kim. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next one goes to Mr. Rob. Rob, what do you recommend to keep my Miro boards organized in terms of project sharing rights and naming, and any other tips to find my darn board?
Absolutely. This question comes up a lot on the community forum. And for anybody who's part of a Miro team, doesn't matter if it's a team plan or consultants, but just a team where there's multiple people, the free plan doesn't really apply because you can't have private boards. But as soon as you start creating boards and projects, everybody can see them, and the dashboard can get quite cluttered. So personally, I like using projects. And I also recommend to anybody that's an administrator of the team plan to go into the settings and the permissions and set it up so that boards and projects that are created by default are only visible to the individual who created them. And then they have to explicitly determine who they want to add to those. And so projects, what's great about those is you can create a project, have it set by default so nobody can see it or access. Then you can choose who you want to add to that project. And now any boards you put in the project, they can either view, edit, or comment, whatever you set the permissions to. and then simply remove them and they can no longer see those boards. Another tip I have is that if you click on the project ahead of time before creating the board, say create new board, it'll create it inside of that project versus creating it in your dashboard and then having to move to the project after. But that's essential, turning that off. And I think perhaps Miro started doing that for new teams, that by default, those permissions may have been changed to be set to that only the board or project owner can see them. But it's been a while since I've created a new team.
Yeah, I try and name my boards intelligently because there is a pretty good search feature for your own boards from your dashboard. You can just start typing in and it'll return that. And then I have to remember to unstar boards aren't my favorites at any given time, so that when I do star one, it is real easy to notice too. That seems to work fairly well for me. Okay, thanks for that, Rob. That's helpful. Mr. Matthew. Okay, you got a bunch of questions here. So is using Miro visual collaboration more about the visuals or about the collaboration, having many people in one space?
That's a good question. I kind of use it for both. I think Greg mentioned this at the beginning, but I'm such a visual learner. I'd like to have mood boards in Miro that I can show my customers or my clients, like, here's what I'm thinking, here's the styles that I'm thinking. Put sticker votes next to things that you like and tell me the, sticky notes next to things you don't like. It's a really it's a combination of both. But that's about the extent of what I use the Miro for visual. There's another question in here around using Figma. And yeah, I think it's kind of a blurred line of when to go between Miro and Figma because they kind of look the same. It's my biggest pushback when I tell clients that I want to use Miro to do all of these projects is they're like, well, we use Figma for that. And I'm like, well, I have to explain well, Miro is more of a collaboration tool. It allows us to do, voting and all of these things that Figma really isn't meant for. So yeah, but they go back and forth really nicely. I think a good example, I went through a brand sprint with one of my clients recently, and at the end of it, I'm able to kind of take everything out of Figma, all the SVG files and PNG files, and create a style guide for them in Miro. And so it's really nice at the end of the project, they get the entire sprint from the ideation and brainstorming all the way down to the very end of, here are the final logo files, here are all your colors, here are all the visual assets that you're going to need. And it's just a nice way to kind of bring it all back. But I haven't found a really good way to kind of bounce everything back and forth. Basically, I want Miro to get more design tools so that I can just use Miro.
Okay.
Perfect. So shall we move over to, there we go. Oh, we're getting this down to a science.
Not bad. Just writing bad notes as we go too.
So Jed and Sophia, can you talk briefly about your process for game design and play testing? What have you found that works well?
Mm-hmm. Something I realized before is I didn't actually show the boards properly when I was talking. I was trying to squeeze into the 2 minutes. So just going up to the board, this is the game board. I don't know if we can see that. And the way we've designed it is basically just bringing in lots of PDFs. And it's really, really easy to create this. We've got a whole kind of Illustrator and InDesign process where we can mass produce our card decks and then bring them into Miro. And what's nice about PDFs is if you double click them, you zoom in. So it's a really nice way to kind of help navigate for people. And in terms of playtesting, as you can imagine, because it is a drag and drop kind of environment where we can bring in all of our files, is we can make changes really quickly every time we play if we want to. And to answer that question specifically, can you talk briefly about the process for game design and playtesting? What we found really useful is compartmentalizing the product. In this example, it's the game, but I think it would work with any product that you're doing in Miro or whatever. But we compartmentalize. So for example, the UX design of the game, or the mechanics of the game, or the questions specifically. And having kind of a spreadsheet where each of those compartments are there, and we can take feedback and put them into that right compartment. And then when we're doing a play test and we're changing something, is we'll just change one thing in one compartment so that we can really see whether it's made a difference. It's the best way to kind of measure whether something's working or not working. And then, yeah, play testing. So, and again, with the online version, it's just so easy to keep play testing. With the physical board game, obviously, it was a lot harder. We'd have to reprint all the cards, reprint the board. And it was a much longer process. So we've made a lot of changes in a really short space of time, thanks to this kind of platform.
And it's it's been wonderful to see how it evolves.
Yeah, I have to have played at least 5 times, and time number 6 is coming up next week. I love the game. It's so good.
Maybe at the end we'll get someone to answer one of the questions. Okay,
we can throw a question back at the audience. Yeah, that'd be good.
Fun. Okay, Jed, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So the question is.
Jed gets another 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. 1 minute. Can you talk briefly about your process for game design and play testing? What have you found that works well? So I think the biggest thing for me personally, I'll share 2 things quickly. The first one is from a book I read. It's called the Mom Test, I think, which essentially boils down to don't trust your mom when you bring a great idea, because she's going to love anything you do. Bring it to, who your core customer is, your Waldo, your avatar, and see how they respond to it, and show up with as little defensiveness as possible. Just really bring your curiosity. So that's been a really big piece for me, kind of letting go of the project and just seeing where it goes. And the other part of that is just kind of calming down in the moment during playtesting, whatever product is that you're experimenting with, and just watch and listen. And the key part for me has been allow myself to feel internally, how am I feeling as I'm watching this person experience the product, in this case, the game. And if there's something that's coming up for me, if I'm feeling uncomfortable or awkward, or something's not working, I'm sure that the person is probably feeling that too. So it's just been slowing down and watching, and then responding with the next iteration.
Yeah, love that.
That's great. Okay.
You can start my timer. So do I still have 2 minutes?
Yep. No, I'm just kidding.
Great.
Although the other question is an interesting one. So here's what we'll do. One more time, I'll open it up to our floor of attendees. If there's one, I think we can have 1, maybe 2 questions from the field if anyone had them. Otherwise, I'm going to launch some kind of an ad hoc lightning round for our speakers. So if anyone does have a question, please.
So I have a question, and this is perhaps out of left field and perhaps a bit of heresy. So, I mean, I've used Miro, and I am also a Mural user, and I'm curious about why people chose Miro over something else.
Mm-hmm. Any of our panelists had Mural experience? Oh, Natalie's got a hand up. Let's hear it, Natalie.
Yeah, I did that analysis when I had my design researchers pitching Miro, and I asked them why not Mural. And I did the research with them as well as on LinkedIn. So what I discovered, Miro users are more of business analysts, technologists, and researchers. While Mural users, more of our UI designers, somehow they kind of divided these audiences, and people who are attached to Mural, they do more of a visual design versus people who use Miro do more research.
Interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks.
I know in my personal case, I had heard about Miro, but by the time I did, I was so drinking the Kool-Aid of Miro. I was like, I can't imagine it would do anything better than Miro can. So
yeah,
and I found them both at the same time, and I just liked how Miro was simpler, cleaner interface. I went to Miro, and there's just too many options, too many things to look at, and like I wanted to keep it simple, so I just closed Miro and stuck with Miro.
Interesting. Okay, thank you for that.
For sure. Okay, we got maybe time for one more from the crowd if anyone would like to get a final question in. I mean, the good thing about the way this all shook down is I think we got some amazing information and we still have questions. So to me, that says that deserves another panel event at some point in time, so we can take the spillover and answer them then. The other option would be to answer these on the board and see who trickles back in, but I think answering them live is so much more powerful. So one more shot for crowd, any attendees. If we got Steve, Susan, Diana, Keith, Brian, Alan, I'm calling everybody out just so not to single anybody out, but now's the time if you have a question. Just checking it out. Just want to make sure we're giving people that opportunity. Okay. Let me quickly transition away from this just to start to wind part of this session down. So if I can draw our attendees' attention to, we have a retrospective set up. That's another amazing thing to do with teams in Miro, very visual, see exactly what's going well, what could be better, and what should come next. I'm going to bring everybody to me. So sorry, Annie, if you're typing a note, you're going to get pulled away. Boom, here we all are. So feel free, grab a sticky, drag it into any of these squares, leave us a couple of comments. We really thrive on this kind of feedback because we talk, I mean, Annie and I are talking almost every day, but it always inevitably comes up is what else can we do? How can we get better? How can we give more content to the users and make sure that everyone's supported in using Miro? And I really love the kind of family we're building around this stuff. The Miro community is just absolutely amazing. So thanks so much for contributing to that retrospective. We always learn a lot. And also I'll draw your attention just to the very end of our journey together. There's 3 links, very important links if you are starting to use Miro or if you have been using Miro and you don't know about these. We of course have the Miro community where you can see Robert Johnson replying to everything. We have the Miro event site, which maybe some of you found this event through. So there's always updates going in there about live and virtual events. And the virtual events are now being held on many different continents. We have an Asia Pacific region, we have the European, we have the North American, now we have Latin America. So that's exciting to see the different styles popping up as more and more Miro users are in the world. And then finally, we mentioned
different languages too.
Yes, and different languages too. So if you want to get really confused on a design sprint, then go do one in Spanish. And then you can check out the Miroverse. We mentioned this a bit before, but those of you who might be watching my shared screen in Zoom there's great templates available that come with Miro, and now they have a spot for the Miroverse templates right here in this template screen. So if you're not quite sure where to start and looking at a blank board is daunting for you, you can always find some inspiration in these. And I love them because no matter what kind of template you pick, you can always customize pieces of it, which I love. So you can make it work for you. Use your own language, use your own headings and fonts and all that kind of stuff, completely customizable. There's no proprietary information here. These are all community-driven templates, some from Miro as a start, but now they're becoming all community-driven, and it's great. A great resource. Okay. I want to ask one more question if I can. I'm just going to take the liberty as the host because I saw this question as one of the last one for Jed and Sophia because I think we can learn a lot from these two. So I'm going to catch you guys off guard. I'm sorry. But as life and business partners, what are some things we can all learn from you regarding probably said how to get along better with our significant others and coworkers?
What makes you think we get along?
No. You haven't fought, you haven't punched each other just yet. So
you want to go or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So I think one of the things that serves us well, because obviously, we're living together, it's COVID, we're spending a lot of time together and we're, working together and have been for a long time. So one of the things that serves us and that I would pass on to others, you know, with you and your colleagues, your families or your partners, is having a shared language. Something that served us really well is we both went to coaching training together. And so we have a shared language of looking at the world. And so when things come up, they inevitably do, it's easier to talk through them. We're closer to the same page just from the get-go. So maybe for you, with your colleagues or your partner, whoever you're working on something with, there are all sorts of trainings that you can do together on coaching, on emotional intelligence, and communication.
So
Yeah.
many.
And couples therapy is also amazing and gives couples and so industrial psychologists can help give a shared language for workplaces, that kind of thing. So I'll share that. Has anything come up for you?
That was the first thing that came to my mind. I think we do regular check-ins where we don't wait for something to kind of show up, like something that's kind of rubbing us the wrong way. We tend to kind of just take the time to have those conversations and be like, so is anything coming up for you? And, or how's things going? Like, even though we spend all our time together, I think we easily assume that we know what's going on in our heads rather than actually checking in. So I think we do regular check-ins, and then that way we can have a conversation without any heat. And that means, yeah, that we can talk through things and kind of just hear each other on a really kind of level, in a level space. Yeah.
And we get it wrong a lot.
Yeah. It's not always perfect. No way. We work in separate rooms most of the time, you know, during the day, because then we can focus better. But yeah, it's definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for that. I think we can all take some notes there and learn both. I think some of that applies with coworkers as well as with couples, especially getting counseling, because oh my God, the people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Everybody's awesome. Okay. It's 1 hour after we started, which means it's time to wind things down, I think. This for me was so good. It was great to catch up with all of you a little bit to see what you're up to. Your boards, as always, are really inspirational for me. And some of the things you've talked about, the gamification, getting along better, the workplace psychology, how to look at and analyze data, how to organize your boards. It's golden. It's all golden. And I want to keep learning from everybody. So I am sure that we will definitely try and arrange some kind of a panel like this again. I hope all of these folks can come back. And maybe we can get a few of our other really inspirational speakers to come along too. I don't want to speak for for our speakers, but you can all just give a big thumbs up if folks can reach out to you and contact you either through LinkedIn or maybe through the Miro community, so that, you know, you can connect. I know I really enjoy sharing lots of my own inspirations in Miro so that I can help new users get into working and creating better products and collaborating with folks more effectively. So hopefully everybody else feels the same, because, you know, when we're all in this together, there's no competition. It's just all opportunity, right, for us all. So let's go chase it down and get it. That's the way I feel anyway. So thanks so much for coming. This is amazing. Love you guys. Love you guys. You got any closing comments for us, Annie?
No, I think that was really, the questions were really helpful. We had some great conversations. I agree. We're going to try and find a way to do this again.
Yeah, I think we will. And we'll be back next month. Absolutely. Every month we have one of these virtual Miro user group events for the North America region. So keep checking back to events.miro.com, I think is the address. Yes. I'm still really hungry, so my brain's starting to go. Matthew, good luck getting all your power and everything back, man. Tough days there. Best of luck. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. If anyone wants to stick around for some conversation after, we're always here. But thanks so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Good job.
Thanks. Thank you. Great panel, guys. Much appreciate your time.
Bye. See you. Great. Go to bed, you two. Awesome. Good to see you, Diana. Or should I call you Superman? Oh, you're muted. I don't hear you. There you go.
Sorry, I could only come in halfway through. So I see it's recorded, so look forward to the first part.
Yeah. They're giving all their backstory and where they've been. So that was a good session.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, even the back half was really good. So thanks for doing this. I'll see you next month.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.
Okay, I think that's the carbon-based units.
I think so, yeah. The other folks are on mute still, so we'll...
Yeah.
Oh, Robert, you're welcome. I saw him type in the box.
Yep.
And have a great night.
All right, you too.
All right, see ya.